Hey, Extremity or Dual Lands, it's me, Speedpaints here, coming to this video. I am turning the 4 Cardinal Heroes into Mech Armors. Now, the order I did them in was the same as the Golem video, but yeah, I did Nafumi, then Rin, the Sword Hero, then Itsuki, the Bow Hero, and then Modiyasu, my least favorite, and want to pummel into the ground. The Spear Hero last. Now, I did foreshadow into another video where I do mine, what was her name? Raftalia's and Philo's mech armor. I'm still thinking about the last one. It was going to be the 4th one going to be. But without further ado, let's roll intro and let's get into this video and let's go. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Hey, it's me, Ghost Striker. So, I have made some newer mechs, and trust me, they're quite impressive, but they were made for a group of 4 heroes that were, that have some minor abilities, like, one guy has this invincible shield, another one has a, sword, another one has a bow, and the last one has a spear. I talked to the shield one, and also talked to the other 2 guys, the bow guy and the sword and shield guy. Well, not sword and shield. The sword and spear guys. And they all corroborated a similar story. What was his name? What was that guy's name? Oh yeah, the shield guy committing a very heinous act of forcing himself on a princess of the place they were summoned to. Turns out he didn't do jack squat. And trust me, I knew the guy. He was actually a relatively good friend of mine back in high school. I knew the guy wouldn't be doing anything like that. But anyways, like I was saying, the guy was a friend of mine, so I knew he wouldn't do anything like that. Turns out he has 2 partners that later came to me for mech suits. One really liked raccoons, but also wanted to give it some light abilities and cloaking. So I did that, but another one wanted something that was fairly interesting. They've always been fascinated by shape-shifting, and specifically shape-shifting to something bigger. And for this person is a very small girl, and she's actually nearly fully adult, but trust me, like I was saying, she's very small and looks like a young girl, maybe around 7 years old or so, but she ain't. She's actually nearly fully grown, and she is very nice and acts like a 7-year-old, but she's very intelligent and stupidly strong. Now all these have minor powers, so they wanted me to make something, make mech suits that could boost their powers. So in other words, they wanted they all wanted boosted cores. The other 2 wanted just regular power suits, which had a few other abilities to them. But those 2 sidekicks of the shield guy. Okay, for the record, my friend is named Nafumi, and he wanted me to make him a suit that could employ his shield ability. Turns out he actually always had this ability, but never really knew how to use it until coming in contact with these people. Turns out they were needed to help defeat some other powerful villains from another world, or basically just some weird things going on. And trust me, he became quite cold, but around his now girlfriend and a few other people, including me, he's actually a relatively nice guy. But yeah. Anyways, let's get to the next one, which is the sword guy's armor. Now I forgot to mention the name of the last one. The last one was named, what was the name of that one? I keep forgetting that one's name. Oh yeah, Nafemi's Invincible Sheild mecha. And it had a pretty interesting color layout. This one had a more uniform color layout. Originally I was thinking about adding some spikes that he wanted, but I decided against it after finding out that he didn't do jack squat. So I made it a fairly cheaper suit. And for the record, the Kingdom was the one charging me to make these. They wanted me to make Nafemi super weak, but I decided against it. I only charged them the price that I quoted for making a weak armor. But instead, I made one of the strongest Mecha armors I have ever made. Now, for the Sword Guys armor, how do you put this? Nafemi's armor, basically he had the ability to create shields. So, but using this armor, he's able to create any shield he wants, as long as he has the data from any creature he has defeated. Basically, it just analyzes the creature and it's later able to replicate into a shield. And it also has the ability to magnify plants too. This one is more offensive. This one is able to dish out really nasty attacks. Now, they wanted me to make the Sword Heroes armor, one of the more powerful ones, like on the lines of in between the Bow Hero and Spear Heroes. So I leaned more into the offensive side of the spectrum. It's still very durable, but trust me, he can get really banged up. He's actually one of the weaker. He's actually one of the weakest out of the three. Nafemi trusts him a little, not a whole lot, just a little more than the Bow Hero. And he doesn't really trust the Bow Hero much at all. So, yeah. But, anyways, his suit just allowed him to summon a sword. So, now whenever he summons the sword, nanobots form around it and make it pretty much mounted to his arm. He's able to use any attack he wants. They all had not just a boosted core, but also a boosting core, along with a analyzation core. Now these two are really powerful combinations, but no, not as powerful as another mech I made that was for someone that had the ability to turn into a slime. That was a really weird ability. He somehow was able to later absorb that tech and also analyze it, but yeah, anyways. This one's a sword mech is now relatively interesting. He's came back for a few repairs and a few improvements here and there, but he's also been able to create something like a thunder or lightning strike. It's a very interesting sword, and this mech's owner is known as Ren, so it's Ren the Sharp Sword mech. So, don't really like the guy. Let's get to the next one. This next one is the Bow Hero, the Bow Guy's suit. His name was Itsuki. I forget the guy all the time, and he wanted me to make something a little bit more interesting. Now you see, he had the ability to summon a fairly weak bow, but also able to summon some really strong arrows. So it was kind of a very weird layout for him. So he wanted me to make something that could improve the durability of his, how do you put it? The durability of both the arrows and the bow. So I used some nanobots that would be found in the arms. Now, for the record, he can make the thing disappear at will as long as the other one. So he now has to use the now the nanobots actually swarm around them and actually implant themselves onto it. And whenever he's about to desummon it, the brain always lets out a signal to the nanobots saying, hey, pretty much saying, hey, the thing's about to disappear. So the nanobots swarm off of it and go back into the armor. Now, they do actually give him some layer of protection. One of his more noticeable attacks is a meteor shower attack. Basically, it's him just shooting one arrow. The nanobots replicate themselves, and further, these are only temporary. and then they come back down and form like little meteors. And it's a pretty devastating attack, if I say so myself. But this guy is the shortest out of them all. He's actually only a high school student. Whereas Nafumi's like 20, and this guy's like 19 or like 17 or so. He's the shortest out of the bunch. Nafumi is at college, is more or less a non-studying student. He's just taking care of his brother, I believe, or was it a cousin? I believe it was his brother. But this guy was just turns out all these were coming from different parts of Japan. So, yeah. So, weird things happen. Now, the bow hero is a nice guy, but he always talks trash about Nafumi. So I don't really like the guy either, but he's a little too prideful for my taste. But he also wanted me to give him the ability to fly. Now, you see, no one else wanted the ability to fly. So, he said, if an enemy gets too close to me, I'm pretty much useless. So he needs something to allow him to get away and get some distance so he can use his weaponry correct. So I gave him the ability to fly by using fire, by injecting fire. Now, Nafumi's was very simple, but yet very strong. But so somehow it took me almost 14 days to build his. Now, Ren's was 12 days. Didn't really like the guy, so I made some pretty cheap material, but not as cheap as Nafumi's. That stuff was pain and butt to bit myself. And now for this guy's, it was an Ultra Mech, so Itsuki's Ultra Mech. And he's known as the bow hero for that good. He's took me 17 days. This is the longest out of the bunch. Yeah. Don't really hate this guy as much as I hate the last guy. And speaking on the last guy, we're on him now. Yeah, this guy's mech armor is pretty fancy. The guy was named Modiyasu, so I made this one known as the Modiyasu Spearman armor. Now, I made the crotch specifically weak, and now I told that little fact to Philo, which is that little full adult girl I told you about that Nafumi looks after. Now you see, now the guy is always creeping on her, so whenever he gets too close to her, she kicks him in the crotch, especially after I told her about that little thing right there. Now, now for the record, Modiyasu is able to summon the spear weaponry. And I don't really like this guy. He is way too much of a creep. He's actually the one that Princess went to. For the record, I did make the Princess Anama, but I made it a weak one. Now I'll talk more about them in a later video, later audio files. But Modiyasu's armor is actually fairly fancy and very durable, but now it's more closer to the offensive. It's more offensive than what was his name? Than Ren's armor, but and not as durable, but not anywhere as durable as Nafumi's armor. So I made it pretty durable for all of them, but Nafumi's was the one focusing on. Now his is more focusing on mid-range attacks. So for him, he has the ability of a meteor strike spear attack, but it's a fairly interesting attack. It's pretty much the same thing as the meteor slash from Ren and the meteor shower from Itsuki. They have defeated some very interesting creatures. Now Nafumi was the one who was able to figure out where this creature was coming from, and thanks to Raftalia's abilities of her mech she wanted, she was able to actually make the creature pure itself, and they were able to take it out. So yeah, it was a fairly interesting fight for them. But like I was saying, they wanted me to make him the best armor, so I did what they wanted. But Nafumi's is better by a long shot, but I made it look a little bit more like a barbaric armor. I made him look the fanciest, but more or less the second strongest right after Nathami, which is a huge power difference. Now Nathami really hates the guy. And after describing, telling me what he did, I'm inclined to believe him, and I did my own research, and the guy's way too cocky. Really deserves a good pounding in the face. It wouldn't hurt me to beat mine up either. Hey, equal rights. Meaning, if I hit a girl, the girl can hit me back. But if the girl hits me, I have full permission to pummel her into the ground. That's what I believe in. Especially for people I hate. So, yeah, that's all the Mech Guys I'm talking about today. See you next time. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed today's video, because that's all the time I got for today. Until next time, subscribe to iTunes to join the Spectrum or give us a like. Goodbye, and peace out, everyone.